If you want to think, speak, and influence like a professional, you must first accept a brutal truth. Your life today is a direct reflection of how you think when no one is watching, how you speak when no one is listening, and how firmly you stand when pressure tries to break you. Nothing happens by accident. Every achievement, every failure, every missed opportunity was born in the mind long before it appeared in reality. The average person lets thoughts wander like an undisciplined crowd. The professional commands them like an army. Control your thinking and you control direction. Allow confusion and you invite chaos. A powerful mind begins with a fixed purpose. Not a wish, not a hope, not a vague dream, but a decision so clear that doubt has no room to breathe. When purpose is clear, the mind stops negotiating and starts executing. Focus is not concentration alone. It is the elimination of everything that does not serve the goal. Professionals are not smarter, they are selective. They decide what matters and starve everything else. The way you speak reveals the way you think. Weak language exposes weak belief. Hesitation leaks insecurity. Certainty commands attention. Your words are not decoration, they are instructions to your subconscious and signals to the world. Speak with intention. Speak with conviction. Speak as someone who expects results, not permission. Influence does not come from volume or aggression. It comes from alignment between belief, emotion, and expression. Emotion is the engine of influence. People do not move because of facts, they move because of feeling. A professional understands this and learns to charge words with emotion while keeping the mind disciplined. You must feel what you say before others will. Empty words die in the air. Charged words lodge in memory. Confidence is built through decision and repetition. Decide who you are. Decide what you stand for. Decide what you will not tolerate. Then repeat that decision in thought, in speech, and in action until it becomes identity. Doubt fades when decisions are final. Authority grows when hesitation disappears. Self-control separates leaders from noise. If you cannot control your reactions, your habits, your impulses, you will never control influence. Discipline creates presence. Presence creates authority. Authority attracts attention without asking for it. Persistence is the final filter. Many think clearly for a moment. Many speak well for a day. Very few persist when results delay. Professionals persist because they understand a law of reality. Consistent thought, repeated speech, and disciplined action must eventually produce results. There is no escape from this principle. Think with purpose, speak with conviction, act with persistence. Do this long enough, and influence is not something you chase, it is something that follows you. Thought is the root of every result. Weak thinking guarantees weak outcomes, and anyone who argues with this is either ignorant or afraid of responsibility. Nothing shows up in your life by accident. Every victory you admire, every failure you hide from, every excuse you repeat was first planted as a thought you allowed to live rent-free in your mind. Before results appear in the physical world, they are rehearsed in silence. Your bank balance, your confidence, your influence, your discipline, all of it is thinking made visible. If your thinking is small, scattered, emotional, and undisciplined, do not complain about small, scattered emotional results. You built them. Most people lose before they begin because their thinking is passive. They react instead of decide. They absorb opinions instead of forming convictions. They let fear vote on their future. That is not thinking. That is mental laziness. Strong outcomes demand deliberate thought, the kind that questions assumptions, rejects limits, and refuses to accept the first answer the mind offers. A powerful thinker does not ask, "Can I?" They ask, "How must I?" One question invites escape. The other forces solutions. Weak thinking shows itself in hesitation, in over-explaining, in the need for validation. It hides behind phrases like, "I'm trying, I'll see, and maybe someday." Strong thinking is decisive. It chooses a direction and burns the bridges behind it. It understands that clarity is more valuable than comfort. When your thinking becomes firm, your energy stops leaking. Focus sharpens, actions align. Progress accelerates. Your mind is either a weapon or a prison, and the difference is control. If you do not control your thoughts, the world will do it for you, through media, through fear, through other people's expectations. Professionals guard their mental environment like their life depends on it, because it does. They do not entertain thoughts that weaken resolve. They do not repeat stories that excuse failure. They do not allow doubt to speak louder than purpose. Thoughts gain power through repetition. What you think once is a suggestion. What you think daily becomes belief. What you believe long enough becomes identity. This is why careless thinking is dangerous. You are programming yourself whether you intend to or not. Every time you tell yourself you are tired, unlucky, limited, or behind, you reinforce a pattern that produces exactly those results. Strong thinkers interrupt that pattern. They replace it with language of control, responsibility, and inevitability. Strong thinking is not positive thinking. Positive thinking without discipline is fantasy. Strong thinking is realistic, strategic, and emotionally controlled. It sees obstacles clearly without surrendering to them. It accepts pain as part of progress instead of treating it as a stop sign. It understands that discomfort is not a warning, it is a signal of growth. Weak minds flee discomfort. Strong minds use it. Every level of success requires a new level of thinking. You cannot think like a follower and expect to influence. Why? Oh, you cannot think like a consumer and expect to build. You cannot think emotionally and expect consistent results. The moment your thinking evolves, your standards rise. When standards rise, behavior changes. When behavior changes, outcomes follow. This sequence never breaks. Your words are an extension of your thoughts. When thinking is weak, speech is uncertain. When thinking is strong, speech carries weight. People listen differently when they sense conviction. Influence does not come from volume or aggression. It comes from inner alignment. When what you think, say, and do move in the same direction, resistance disappears. Authority is felt, not announced. The disciplined mind understands time. It does not demand immediate reward. It knows that persistence compounds. Weak thinkers quit early because they misjudge timelines. Strong thinkers stay because they understand cause and effect. They know that consistent thought, backed by consistent action, cannot fail. It can only be delayed. And delay does not discourage them, it sharpens them. If you want stronger outcomes, stop chasing tactics and start upgrading your thinking. Stop blaming circumstances and start commanding direction. Decide what you want with precision. Eliminate thoughts that do not serve that decision. Speak only what reinforces it. Act daily in alignment with it. Do this long enough and your results will no longer be random. They will be predictable. Thought is the root of every result. Change the root and the fruit must change. There is no exception. Clarity of purpose multiplies mental power, and without it even the smartest mind becomes weak, scattered, and wasted. Talent without direction is noise. Intelligence without purpose is exhaustion. You can think all day, work all night, and still go nowhere if you don't know exactly what you are moving toward. The human mind was not designed to chase everything. It was designed to lock onto one target and pursue it with force. When purpose is unclear, energy leaks. When purpose is clear, power concentrates. Most people suffer not from lack of ability, but from lack of definition. They want success, but they don't define what success means. They want money, but they don't decide why they want it or what they'll do with it. They want influence, but they fear responsibility. This vagueness weakens the mind. An unclear purpose invites doubt, distraction, and emotional decision-making. A clear purpose eliminates internal conflict. When the mind knows where it's going, it stops arguing with itself. Clarity does not come from hoping, it comes from deciding. A purpose chosen with hesitation carries no force. A purpose chosen under pressure breaks easily. But a purpose chosen deliberately becomes a mental command. Once decided, the mind reorganizes itself around that decision. Attention sharpens. Priorities realign. Distractions lose their appeal. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable because the mind is no longer scat. Read across 10 directions. Mental power is not about thinking more. It's about thinking less, but thinking precisely. A focused mind can outperform a busy mind every time. Clarity cuts through noise. It tells you what to ignore. It tells you what to say no to. Weak thinkers try to keep every option open. Strong thinkers close doors on purpose. They understand that commitment is not a trap, it is a weapon. When purpose is clear, emotions fall into line. Fear weakens because it has less room to speak. Doubt fades because direction is firm. Motivation stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows you. You no longer need constant inspiration because your purpose pulls you forward even on days you feel empty. That is real mental strength, movement without mood dependence. Clarity of purpose also gives meaning to struggle. Without purpose, pain feels pointless. With purpose, pain becomes payment. Strong minds do not avoid hardship, they contextualize it. They know why they are enduring it. Weak minds ask, why is this happening to me? Strong minds ask, what is this preparing me for? The difference is not circumstances, it is clarity. A clear purpose turns time into an ally. You stop rushing, you stop panicking, you stop comparing. You understand that progress has a sequence, and you trust the process because you chose the destination. People with no purpose are always in a hurry and always behind. People with clear purpose move steadily and arrive inevitably. Speech changes when purpose is clear. Your words gain direction. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking approval. You speak with certainty because you are anchored. People sense this immediately. Influence grows not because you are louder, but because you are aligned. There is weight behind your words when they come from a decided mind. Clarity also exposes excuses. When the goal is clear, you can no longer hide behind confusion. You know when you are wasting time. You know when you are avoiding action. This is why many people resist clarity. It demands accountability. A clear purpose removes the comfort of pretending. It forces you to either act or admit weakness. Strong purpose simplifies decisions. You no longer ask, is this easy, or do I feel like it? You ask one question, does this move me closer to my purpose? If the answer is no, the decision is made. This simplicity saves enormous mental energy. The mind stops fighting trivial battles and reserves power for what matters. Mental power multiplies when thought, emotion, and action align behind one aim. Fragmentation kills strength. Unity creates force. A focused beam cuts through steel. Scattered light warms nothing. Purpose is what turns thought into a beam. If you feel tired, unfocused, unmotivated, don't assume you are weak. Assume you are unclear. Most burnout is not from overwork. It is from misdirected effort. The mind resists work that lacks meaning. Give it purpose and it will work harder than you thought possible. Decide what you want. Decide why it matters. Decide what you are willing to sacrifice for it. Then refuse to renegotiate that decision with fear, comfort, or outside opinion. When purpose is clear, the mind becomes disciplined. When the mind is disciplined, results become inevitable. Clarity of purpose multiplies mental power because it removes friction, doubt, and waste. It turns effort into momentum and struggle into progress. Decide your direction and your mind will find the strength to carry you there. Emotion fuels influence, logic only supports it, and anyone who believes people are moved by facts alone has never led, sold, inspired, or changed a single human being. Logic explains, but emotion decides. Logic informs the mind, but emotion commands action. You can present perfect arguments, flawless data, and undeniable proof, yet still fail to move anyone if you do not touch what actually drives human behavior. People act when they feel, not when they understand. Understanding without emotion produces agreement. Emotion produces movement. Every decision you have ever made was emotional first and logical second. The mind justifies what the heart has already chosen. This is not weakness, it is human nature. Influence begins the moment you accept this reality instead of fighting it. Those who rely only on logic sound correct and achieve nothing. Those who understand emotion may sound simple, but they change lives, markets, and movements. Emotion gives energy to words. Without it, speech is empty noise. With it, even simple language becomes powerful. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. This is why influence is not about vocabulary or intelligence. It is about emotional precision. Strong influencers know which emotion to activate and when. Urgency, hope, pride, fear, belief, determination. They do not guess. They choose. Logic has its place, but it is a supporting actor, not the star. Logic calms resistance after emotion has opened the door. Emotion creates desire. Logic provides permission. When you reverse this order, you fail. Start with logic and you meet boredom, defensiveness, and indifference. Start with emotion and logic becomes welcome. Even comforting, weak communicators hide behind logic because it feels safe. Facts protect them from rejection. Data shields them from responsibility. If the message fails, they blame the audience for not understanding. Strong communicators take full responsibility for how their message lands. They know if people didn't move, the emotion wasn't strong enough. Influence demands courage, the courage to feel deeply and express it without apology. Emotion creates identification. People follow those they relate to, not those they admire from a distance. When you speak emotionally, you signal humanity. You show stakes. You reveal that something matters to you, that seriousness is contagious. Indifference never inspires loyalty. Passy undoes every great movement, every powerful brand, every unforgettable leader mastered emotional influence. They didn't drown people in explanation. They anchored them in feeling. They created belief first, then backed it with reason. Belief is emotional. Commitment is emotional. Persistence is emotional. Logic alone never kept anyone going when results were slow and obstacles were heavy. Emotion also sharpens attention. The mind wanders when it feels nothing. It locks in when something is at stake. This is why emotionally charged messages feel shorter and hit harder. Time disappears when feeling is present. Influence grows in that space of heightened attention, where the listener is no longer passive but involved. Control is what separates influence from manipulation. Emotion without discipline becomes chaos. Discipline without emotion becomes lifeless. The professional balances both. They feel intensely but express intentionally. They do not dump emotion, they direct it. Every word, pause, and emphasis is chosen to guide feeling toward action. Fear is one of the strongest emotional drivers, but it is also the most abused. Weak influencers rely on fear alone and burn trust. Strong influencers use fear to wake people up, then immediately offer direction. Emotion without solution creates panic. Emotion paired with purpose creates power. Confidence itself is an emotional signal. People do not analyze it, they sense it. Logic cannot fake confidence. It must be felt first. When you believe deeply, your tone changes, your posture changes, your timing changes. These nonverbal cues influence more than any argument ever could. If you want to influence, stop asking, is this logical? And start asking, what will this make them feel? Then use logic to support that feeling so it can survive scrutiny. This is how trust is built. Emotion opens the heart, logic reassures the mind. Most people fail to influence because they speak from the head alone. The head convinces, the heart converts. If your message doesn't carry emotion, it won't carry momentum. It will be understood and forgotten. Emotion fuels influence. Logic only supports it. Learn to move feeling first, and reason will follow. Ignore emotion, and logic will stand alone. Correct, impressive, and completely powerless. Words shape identity. Speak poorly, live poorly. And this is not philosophy, it is programming. The way you talk to yourself and the way you talk to the world silently decides who you become. Before habits form, before actions repeat, before results show up, language sets the frame. Your words are not harmless sounds, they are commands. They tell your mind what to expect, what to tolerate, and what to avoid. Speak like someone who is weak, confused, or unsure, and your behavior will follow that script without asking for permission. Most people underestimate how casually they sabotage themselves. They describe their lives with careless language and then wonder why nothing changes. They say they are tired, unlucky, bad at something, not confident, not ready, not the type. These are not observations. They are identity statements. Repeat them long enough and the mind accepts them as truth. Once accepted, it looks for evidence to confirm them. This is how people trap themselves without ever noticing the door closing. Strong individuals are disciplined with language. They do not speak emotionally in moments of weakness and then forget it later. They understand that every word leaves a mark. When they face difficulty, they do not label themselves as broken. They describe the situation as temporary. When they fail, they do not say, I am a failure. They say, I failed. One destroys identity, the other preserves it. This distinction is not small. It is the difference between growth and stagnation. The words you use daily become the boundaries of your thinking. Weak language narrows options. Strong language expands them. When you say, "I can't," the mind stops searching. When you say, "I haven't figured it out yet," the mind stays active. Language either shuts doors or keeps them open. If you speak in absolutes, your life becomes rigid. If you speak in possibilities, your life stays flexible. Identity is built through repetition. The mind does not care if a statement is true the first time. It cares if it is repeated. What you say often becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes how you act. This is why people who constantly joke about being lazy, late, bad with money, or undisciplined eventually become exactly that. The joke turns into a label. The label turns into behavior. Your spoken words also shape how others treat you. People respond to the identity you project. When you speak with certainty, you are treated with respect. When you speak with doubt, you invite dismissal. This is not about arrogance. It is about clarity. Clear language signals self-respect. Unclear language signals permission to be ignored. Weak speech is filled with unnecessary explanations, apologies, and qualifiers. It sounds like maybe, I think, sort of, if that's okay. Strong speech is direct and intentional. It does not beg for approval. It states, commits, and moves. This does not mean being rude. It means being grounded. Authority begins in how you speak before anyone else recognizes it. Self-talk is the most dangerous conversation you will ever have because no one corrects it. You can lie to yourself all day and face no resistance. If your inner language is chaotic, negative, or defeatist, your outer life will mirror it. You cannot outwork a poisoned internal dialogue. Discipline without proper language eventually collapses because the identity underneath is weak. Strong people use words to reinforce standards. They speak in alignment with who they are becoming, not who they used to be. They choose language that demands more from them, not less. When they say something, they feel a responsibility to live up to it. Pressure is not a burden, it is structure. Words also affect emotion. Language triggers feeling. When you describe your challenges as impossible, your body reacts with tension and fear. When you describe them as demanding but manageable, your body stays engaged. This is not positive thinking, it is precision thinking. Emotion follows language faster than logic ever could. If you want to change your identity, start by auditing your words. Listen to how you speak when you are tired, frustrated, or challenged. That is your real language. That is the script your mind is following. Change the script, and behavior will eventually catch up. Ignore it, and no amount of effort will save you. Speak poorly, and you live inside the limits your words create. Speak with intention, and you step into an identity that demands better actions and produces stronger results. Words shape identity. Choose them carefully, because you are always listening. Confidence is constructed, not inherited, and anyone waiting to feel ready before acting has already decided to stay average. Confidence is not a personality trait you are born with, nor is it a gift reserved for a lucky few. It is built deliberately, brick by brick, through action, repetition, and evidence. People who appear naturally confident are not special, they are practiced. They have trained their nervous system to trust itself through experience, not imagination. Most people misunderstand confidence because they confuse it with comfort. Comfort feels safe, so they wait for it. Confidence feels earned, so they avoid the work required to build it. The truth is uncomfortable. Confidence follows action. It never precedes it. If you wait until fear disappears, you will wait forever. Fear fades only after you move through it and survive. Each time you act despite uncertainty, you lay another layer in the foundation of confidence. Inherited traits may shape temperament, but they do not determine belief. Belief comes from proof. The mind does not respond to affirmations alone, it responds to evidence. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, your self-trust increases. When you break them, confidence erodes. This is why inconsistency is so destructive. It teaches the mind that your word means nothing. Strong confidence begins with self-respect, and self-respect is earned through follow-through. Confidence is constructed through repetition. The first attempt feels awkward. The second feels tense. The 10th feels manageable. The 100th feels natural. This progression is not accidental. It is neurological conditioning. The brain adapts to what it experiences often. What once felt threatening becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes controllable. This is why avoidance weakens confidence while exposure strengthens it. Confidence also comes from preparation, not overthinking, but readiness. When you prepare properly, you reduce uncertainty. When uncertainty drops, confidence rises. People who wing it often rely on false bravado, which collapses under pressure. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself because it knows it can perform. Failure plays a critical role in constructing confidence. Avoiding failure feels protective, but it robs you of proof that you can recover. Every time you fail and continue, you send a powerful message to your mind: I am not fragile. This resilience is the backbone of confidence. The most confident individuals are not those who avoid mistakes. They are those who have survived many. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy confidence. It shifts focus from growth to judgment. Confidence thrives on progress, not ranking. When you measure yourself against others, you lose control of the standard. When you measure yourself against your past, you regain it. Construction requires reference points you control. Language reinforces construction. Saying, I'm not confident, repeatedly turns a temporary state into a permanent identity. Strong builders of confidence speak differently. They describe challenges as skills in progress, not personal flaws. This keeps the mind engaged instead of defeated. Confidence grows where identity remains intact. Confidence is also situational. Someone can be confident in one area and insecure in another. This proves it is built, not inherited. Where experience exists, confidence follows. Where experience is missing, doubt appears. The solution is not personality change. It is exposure and practice. The body influences confidence as well. Posture, breath, and movement send signals to the brain. When the body acts weak, the mind follows. When the body acts composed, the mind stabilizes. This is not acting, it is alignment. Physical discipline supports mental construction. The greatest enemy of confidence is inconsistency. Doing something once does not build confidence. Doing it regularly does. Confidence is the reward for disciplined action over time. Short bursts of effort create excitement. Consistent effort creates belief. If confidence were inherited, it would not grow. If it were genetic, it would not fade. But it does both because it is built. You either construct it intentionally or allow it to decay through avoidance and excuses. Stop asking whether you are confident. Start asking what you have done to earn it. Build it through action, repetition, and self-trust. Confidence is not something you discover, it is something you construct. Decision eliminates doubt and attracts momentum. Until you understand this, you will stay stuck in preparation, hesitation, and endless thinking without movement. Doubt does not exist because situations are unclear. People believe they need more information before they decide. In reality, they need more courage. Information reduces uncertainty, but it never removes it completely. Waiting for certainty is just a socially acceptable form of fear. Strong individuals decide with incomplete information and adjust along the way. Weak individuals wait, analyze, and stay exactly where they are. Movement creates clarity, not the other way around. A decision is not a preference. It is not a wish. It is not, I'll try. A decision is a line drawn in the mind that says, this is the direction, and I will deal with whatever comes with it. The brain responds to this clarity by reallocating resources. Focus sharpens, distractions lose power. Options that once felt tempting become irrelevant. This is why decisive people appear confident. Their minds are no longer divided. Doubt thrives in undecided minds. When no direction is chosen, every obstacle feels threatening because it might block a path you haven't even committed to. Once a decision is made, obstacles become problems to solve, not reasons to quit. The mind shifts from defense to offense. That shift is momentum. Momentum is not motivation. Motivation is emotional and unstable. Momentum is mechanical. Once in motion, it carries you forward even when emotion drops. Decision is the ignition. Action is the movement. Consistency is the fuel. People who rely on motivation stall. People who rely on decisions keep moving. Indecision drains energy. Every open loop in the mind consumes attention. Every unresolved choice creates mental friction. This is why indecisive people feel tired without doing much. Their energy is being burned internally. Decisive people feel energized because their energy is expressed externally through action. Fear often disguises itself as logic during decision-making. It asks for more time, more proof, more reassurance. Strong minds recognize this and move anyway. They understand that fear cannot be eliminated through thinking. It can only be weakened through action. Each step forward reduces doubt because it replaces imagination with experience. Decisions also create identity. When you decide, you declare who you are and what you stand for. This self-definition strengthens resolve. Repeated decisions in alignment with a goal reinforce belief. Over time, decision-making becomes faster and more confident because the mind trusts itself. Momentum attracts opportunities. People respond to movement. Resources, connections, and ideas tend to appear when you are already in motion. Stagnation attracts nothing. The world does not reward potential, it responds to action. Decision signals seriousness. Seriousness invites support. Many people confuse flexibility with indecision. They avoid commitment to keep options open. In reality, commitment creates better options. Once you move, you learn. Once you learn, you refine. Indecision preserves ignorance. Decision accelerates growth. Not every decision will. Be perfect. That is irrelevant. A wrong decision acted upon decisively often produces better results than a right decision never acted on. Correction is possible only after movement. You cannot steer a parked car. The habit of decision-making compounds. Each decision strengthens the next. Each moment of hesitation weakens the one after. Over time, this creates two very different lives, one defined by movement and results, the other by plans and regret. If you want momentum, stop negotiating with yourself. Decide. Accept the consequences. Adjust as needed. Doubt will fade because it has nothing left to feed on. Momentum will rise because energy now has a direction. Decision eliminates doubt and attracts momentum because it turns thought into action and intention into reality. Decide, move, and let progress silence hesitation. Self-control is the foundation of authority, and without it, no amount of talent, intelligence, or ambition will ever earn you respect. Authority is not something you demand, it is something others feel when they sense discipline behind your presence. People do not follow those who are loud, emotional, or reactive. They follow those who are composed, consistent, and restrained. The ability to control yourself is the first and most visible proof that you are capable of leading anything else. Most people misunderstand authority. They think it comes from position, status, or force. In reality, those are substitutes used when real authority is missing. True authority comes from inner order. When a person is calm under pressure, measured in speech, and disciplined in behavior, others instinctively trust them. Chaos repels influence. Control attracts it. Self-control begins with emotion. Emotions are natural, but unfiltered emotion is dangerous. Anger spoken too quickly, excitement acted on without thought, fear allowed to decide, these weaken authority instantly. The person who reacts becomes predictable. The person who pauses becomes powerful. Restraint creates mystery, and mystery creates respect. People watch how you handle pressure more than how you handle success. Anyone can be confident when things go well. Authority shows itself when things go wrong. If you lose control, complain, or panic, your credibility collapses. If you stay composed, others borrow your stability. In moments of uncertainty, people look for someone whose behavior suggests safety. Self-control provides that signal. Discipline in small actions builds authority in large moments. When your habits are consistent, your word carries weight. When you say you will do something and you do it, trust forms. When you say you will stop and you stop, boundaries become real. Authority grows from reliability, and reliability is impossible without self-control. Speech reveals control. Weak authority speaks impulsively, over-explains, interrupts, and reacts. Strong authority speaks with intention. It chooses timing, tone, and silence carefully. Silence itself is a form of control. Knowing when not to speak often communicates more power than speaking at all. Self-control also governs desire. Authority is weakened by visible desperation, for approval, for attention, for results. When you chase, you lower your position. When you are grounded, others move toward you. Control over impulses signals abundance, not lack. The body reflects inner control. Posture, eye contact, breathing, and pace communicate discipline before words are spoken. A restless body reveals a restless mind. A steady body projects command. Authority begins before conversation. Self-control is tested daily in moments no one sees. What you eat, what you tolerate, what you postpone, what you avoid, these choices shape identity. When you repeatedly choose comfort over discipline, authority erodes internally first. You may still appear strong, but you will feel weak. That internal weakness eventually leaks out. Power without self-control turns into tyranny. Influence without discipline turns into chaos. This is why self-control is not optional. It is protective. It keeps authority clean. It prevents emotion from becoming destruction and ambition from becoming recklessness. People often resist self-control because they mistake it for suppression. It is not suppression, it is direction. You are not killing emotion, you are commanding it. You are not denying desire, you are prioritizing it. Controlled is what allows intensity to be effective instead of explosive. Authority attracts responsibility. If you cannot manage yourself, you will not be trusted with more. Life, people, and opportunity test for self-control constantly. Those who pass receive more influence. Those who fail remain noisy but irrelevant. If you want authority, stop trying to look powerful and start mastering yourself. Control your reactions, control your habits, control your words, control your time. Do this long enough and authority will not need to be claimed, it will be granted. Self-control is the foundation of authority because leadership always begins within. Master yourself and others will sense it without explanation. Repetition programs belief, internally and externally, and anyone who underestimates this principle is sabotaging themselves without realizing it. The human mind is not convinced by a single thought, a single word, or a single action. It requires repeated exposure to ideas, habits, and behaviors to internalize them as truth. What you think, say, and do once is a suggestion. What you repeat becomes reality. Repetition is the invisible force that transforms intention into identity and knowledge into unshakable conviction. Without it, even the strongest insight remains fragile and fleeting. Most people fail because they expect change to happen instantly. They hear a lesson, feel inspired for a moment, and then return to the same patterns that produced their old results. Inspiration alone is meaningless. Belief is constructed over time through deliberate, repeated input. The brain needs constant reinforcement to rewrite what it considers possible. Repetition is the hammer that reshapes the neural pathways and builds certainty. Without it, doubt quietly seeps back in, eroding courage and diluting focus. Repetition works internally first. The thoughts you cultivate daily create your mindset, your expectations, and your self-image. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I am capable, I am disciplined, or I will persist, your subconscious mind begins to accept these statements as fact. This internal programming is not automatic. It requires vigilance. Words spoken in a vacuum have little power, but repeated thoughts, reinforced by consistent action, embed themselves deep in your mental architecture. Over time, what was once a hope or wish becomes a conviction that guides behavior automatically. External repetition reinforces internal belief. Your habits, actions, and communication signal to others who you are and what you stand for. If your actions contradict your words, credibility collapses. If they align, influence grows. People do not trust inconsistency, they trust patterns. When others repeatedly observe discipline, persistence, and clarity in you, they begin to expect it, and that expectation strengthens your authority. Influence is not built through one powerful speech or a single impressive performance. It is built through repeated demonstration of capability and character. Repetition also creates momentum. Small, consistent actions repeated over time compound into results that feel inevitable. Mastery is the product of hundreds, thousands of repetitions in thought, practice, and communication. There are no shortcuts. Temporary effort produces temporary results. Consistency, repeated over time, creates permanence. Each repetition builds confidence. Each demonstration builds trust. Each action reinforces identity. The process is mechanical. Do it often enough, and the mind, yours and everyone else's, has no choice but to accept it as truth. Many people resist repetition because it feels boring or redundant. They crave novelty, excitement, and quick fixes. This is the trap of mediocrity. Growth is not entertaining, it is methodical. Brilliance is not spontaneous, it is rehearsed. Repetition is uncomfortable because it forces discipline, structure, and accountability. Yet it is precisely this discomfort that programs belief. Every repetition is a signal to your brain that this action, this principle, and this standard are non-negotiable. Language itself is a tool of repetition. Words repeated internally become mantras, and words repeated externally become commitments. When you affirm a principle daily and then act in accordance with it, you create alignment between mind and reality. This alignment reduces internal conflict, increases decisiveness, and amplifies confidence. People sense this harmony instinctively, which increases your influence. Consistency in speech and beha. Via programs belief not only for yourself, but also for everyone observing you. Repetition also strengthens resilience. When you face setbacks, your repeated affirmations of purpose, ability, and focus buffer against doubt. One failure cannot dismantle what has been reinforced hundreds of times. Momentum returns faster because repetition has built a foundation that is resistant to interruption. Weak individuals abandon principles at the first challenge. Strong individuals rely on repetition to restore belief, to recalibrate focus, and to continue moving forward. Every habit, skill, and mastery in life is the product of repetition. Leadership is repeated decision-making. Influence is repeated action. Confidence is repeated proof to oneself that risk can be managed. Wealth is repeated disciplined choices. Every high performer leverages this truth, consciously or unconsciously. Those who ignore it wander in cycles of hope and disappointment. Repetition turns effort into inevitability. Repetition programs belief because the brain cannot argue with frequency. When ideas, behaviors, and principles are consistently reinforced, they become automatic. You stop questioning whether you can achieve, whether you can endure, or whether you are capable. The mind accepts the repeated signal as fact, and the body follows. Externally, repetition trains others to expect and rely on your consistency, building trust, authority, and influence. If you want internal conviction, you must repeat empowering thoughts and actions daily. If you want external influence, you must demonstrate your principles repeatedly until they are undeniable. Repetition is the bridge between intention and reality, between desire and achievement. Without it, belief is weak, authority is hollow, and results are temporary. With it, belief becomes unshakable, influence becomes natural, and outcomes become inevitable. Repetition programs belief, internally and externally, because nothing is absorbed once, nothing is remembered fully after a single exposure, and nothing worth achieving survives without reinforcement. Repeat